This is the Mike LiPetri Show. Welcome to the Mike LiPetri Show, the good, the bad, the ugly, April edition. We start off with celebrating the killing of the 2021 ISIS-K mastermind who was behind the suicide bomb, if you remember, that killed 13 U.S. service members and over 150 civilians during Biden's withdrawal in Afghanistan. So this guy was killed by the Taliban, this mastermind, somebody who we will never miss, somebody who we will be greatly appreciated. And for me, the only thing that hurts is that it wasn't United States, because I would have just loved it where we had some U.S. military forces going in there and absolutely destroying this despicable, disgraceful, evil villain who I'd love to see just absolutely tortured before death. But that's just besides the point. For me, I label this as the good. I'm happy this happened. I'm very curious at if the United States was involved at all through their conversations with the Taliban at all behind the scenes. It's also very interesting to show how it's become completely occupied by the Taliban and how specifically the United States could not even launch a military effort to kill this mastermind. I'm very curious at more of those details as it unfolds, as this was relatively new in terms of the news and how this happened. All right, now we're going domestic. Now we're focusing on the House of Representatives. The Republicans passed their version of the debt ceiling bill just this past week. What this does now allow is legitimate negotiations between Biden, the House of Representatives, the Republican House of Representatives, and the Democrat United States Senate. So now that the Republicans passed it, albeit by a slim margin, because that's all they have, now it puts everybody at the table to come to discussion. What is the debt ceiling? What is the debt ceiling? For those of you who don't, to put it in layman's terms, it's basically the United States credit card, right? Congress, for more than a century, used to authorize each sale of Treasury bonds to pay for specific projects. Every single project, they had to go through this motion. But then U.S. lawmakers gave the Treasury Department more flexibility about early 20th century, as officials faced more of the onset of the war, and the federal government was growing. They just couldn't keep doing that. It just was too hard. So now, fast forward, right before World War II, they give the Treasury exclusive, almost unlimited power to decide which securities to sell and how to best manage the nation's debt and its finances, right? Subject to an overall limit, aka the debt ceiling. Now, since then, Washington, they battle, the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the President will battle back and forth to figure out, okay, how much are we willing to increase our debt by without any sort of conditions, any qualifications? Now, this is what's stepped into, is that the House of Representatives is trying to say, hey, before we raise this debt ceiling, we want some qualifications on here that you can't just frivolously spend. They just can't keep going off the charts. It's in essence as if a parent gave a child a credit card, right? And now the credit card the child has maxed out that credit card. Now you're going to be saying, okay, well, I'm not just going to keep increasing my maximum while you just keep spend without any care. So instead, this is what the House of Representatives is saying, is that instead, if we're going to raise this debt ceiling, I'm going to limit how much you can spend here, how much you can go out there, how much you can put towards charging your card to X, Y, and Z, et cetera. The United States Senate and Biden, they just want a clean raise. They want it where the kid who says, Mommy, Daddy, I want another 5,000 or another 10,000 or another 100,000. So therefore, and you guys just say yes, and then we can keep doing what we're doing. So you decide what you think is the right course of action. Naturally, I think that there should always be some qualifications and conditions, because you can't just keep doing the same thing over and expecting different results, right? That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over, expecting different results. It's not going to happen. So this agreement must be reached by the summer, and stay tuned for some serious 11th hour discussions. Get ready. Gear up for that. We're focusing on the bad. Now, the bad, I can say this past month, we had Biden release his god-awful re-election announcement. Obviously, that's atrocious. But what's more atrocious is the policy that he's implementing. Specifically, you're having a new fee increase on good creditors that begins May 1st. Let me say it again. According to Newsweek, this was in Newsweek, so check this article out. Home buyers with good credit scores will soon be facing higher mortgage fees in May. A new federal rule by the Federal Housing Finance Agency says that this rule could raise the monthly mortgage payments of buyers with good credit scores, while riskier borrowers will get more favorable terms because their fees will be reduced. What? This is the insanity. This is what we're trying to tell each and every one of you, is how we're losing that common sense. So now you have Biden, who announced his re-election campaign. Meanwhile, he's having these policies from his agencies promulgate that incentivizes bad decisions and then harms good decisions. This is, in essence, what we have completely warped in the federal government, in government as a whole, is that they keep trying to help people who make bad decisions and hurt people who make good decisions. The responsible people continuously get hurt with the current administration, and that's wrong. That's a problem. And you have, for example, one congressman, Mike Lawler. He's a great guy. I know him. He's over in the Hudson Valley, took out DCCC chair Sean Patrick Maloney last session, and he came out and just said straight up, this new rule unfairly penalizes Americans for having good credit and rewards those who accrue debt and don't pay their bills by giving them cheaper loans. The way to expand access to housing isn't to reward bad credit. It's to bring down inflation, reduce property taxes, cut energy costs, and invest in critical infrastructure, end quote. Then you have one representative in the House of Representatives. He's an Arizona Republican. He introduced the Responsible Borrowers Act, which has more than 30 GOP co-sponsors, and the bill would specifically stop the agency's rule from taking effect because it just doesn't make sense. And ultimately, that's what government should be promulgating, is common sense policies that advance people who make the right decisions, who are working hard, who are following the laws. Each and every one of you will be rewarded. Those that don't follow the rules, that make poor decisions, that expect doing the same dumb mistakes over and over again, the definition of insanity, but expecting different results, you will not be rewarded. That's plain and simple. If you're accruing this bad debt, if you are continuously failing to pay your bills that you are responsible for, because no one's forced you to do that, you took those out on your own and you're not now paying it, your credit score is going to sink for a reason. And ultimately, you should not have those that making the right decisions making up or paying the price for those making the bad decisions. That's not what America is. It never has been, and it never should be. Finally, let's focus on the ugly, because this month has been pretty ugly with the revelations of leaked war documents and Chinese espionage in New York City, which we're going to get to. But think about this. You have leaked Pentagon documents. The alleged leaker is Jack Teixeira, a 21-year-old, who has this top secret clearance since 2021. And he was a cyber transport system specialist. Check this out. This is in the article, The Intelligencer, which is, they break this down. It's insane to see exactly how. But this guy released these confidential, top secret documents all in this Discord with a bunch of other kids, essentially. And he's trying to look cool and say, look what I have access, look how big I am. But what's more striking is exactly what are the documents and how many were leaked. And you're looking at hundreds of pages, approximately 300 photos of classified documents were leaked over this past year. And what they show, what they reveal, that's what's more, for me, striking, is it focuses on how Ukraine planned covert attacks on Russian forces in Syria. Okay. The U.S., how they advised against certain strategic decisions that Ukraine was planning to do, but Ukraine did not listen. There's more details about the Chinese spy balloon, right? There's actually approximately 4. Now, mind you, let me preface with all this, is that this has not been confirmed by any government source or anything official. So this is all what we're seeing based on allegations, based on these photos and what's been fed to the press. So it's very interesting to see that come. But no news organization or government source has confirmed the accuracy of the information, quote unquote. But what we're looking at is also what I find is that you're going to hear people talk about, obviously, that throughout these documents have shown U.S. was spying on South Korea and its allies, Israel as well. But that's something that's typical. What's more striking is how you have Zelensky in Ukraine, who had a plot to target Russia and launch a spring offensive, going into on the offense into territory that Russia took over, that they wanted to gain back. And this was something that, obviously, with everything under the microscope in Ukraine, to then go on the offense in this situation is concerning, specifically because of the types of equipment. And then you find out the military ammo, ammunition, etc. I mean, we're providing so much, tens of billions of dollars to Ukraine to defend themselves and hold off the Russians. But you're launching plots that could potentially risk A, more lives, and B, more of your equipment and ammos that we've provided to you in a very loose way, as opposed to strategic that could hold off for time. So that's something very, very interesting. And also I want to bring up something more that for me was very striking. And specifically, you found out that as many as 50 British special forces were in Ukraine this year, and U.S. and French special forces were there too. So we had some of our best and brightest out there in Ukraine fighting for a non-NATO country, which is very interesting if you think about that. So a non-NATO country, we have our own best and brightest on the boots on the ground fighting. And for me, that's a big problem. I'm looking at that saying there's a fine line. You're really pushing this line where is this United States proxy war? Is it not? Is it just simply providing a support and assistance? But with all this coordination, with now having our own military personnel on it, the tens of billions of dollars that we've spent already, providing quote-unquote aid to Ukraine, the last thing I want is to have the United States involved in this when frankly we haven't had the proper constitutional channels that we've gone through in terms of declaration of war, or also frankly where we are as a country on this matter. So for me, that's quite concerning and something that I'm very interested to see how that develops post revelations now. All right, and now I want to finish with the Chinese espionage. So you got to see this. This is insane. This is according to CBS News. U.S. arrests 2 for allegedly operating secret Chinese policed outpost in New York. FBI arrested 2 defendants on charges that they set up and operated an illegal Chinese police station in the middle of New York City in order to influence and intimidate dissidents critical of the Chinese government. This is real. Okay? Harry Liu Jianwen and Zhen Jinping of Manhattan are charged with conspiring to act as agents of the Chinese government and obstruction of justice. And you guys see this affidavit. So check out this affidavit. Specifically, right here in this paragraph, probable cause. The investigation has revealed, this is an affidavit from a special agent with the FBI, who states the investigation has revealed that the defendants and others have agreed to act as agents of China without prior notification to the AG. And since on or about 2015, the defendants have assisted China by participating in counter-protests in Washington, D.C. against members of a religion that is forbidden under Chinese law and helping locate persons of interest to the Chinese government. More recently, the defendants have operated an unofficial police station in New York City on behalf of the Fuzhou Municipal Public Security Bureau. This bureau is a provincial branch office located in a province in China. When made aware of the FBI investigation, the defendants destroyed electronic evidence of the communications with their primary liaison in China, who had conspired with the defendant in the operation of the unofficial police station. Is that crazy? This is the world that we're living in. I mean, this is serious stuff, people. This is what you have to recognize is right here at home, right by our communities, right in our state, okay, here in our nation. We have enemies within and without. And this is why it is pivotal that we have strict national security focus, homeland security focus, defending our country and its borders, because you have people who are wishing to do harm on our citizens and our residents. And that's a problem, because our country has always been the land of the free and the home of the brave. Our country, each and every person who lives in this country, each and every one are descendants of courage. Courage to stand up to those who wish to harm us, to wish to oppress us, to those who wish to destroy us. From day one, this country was built upon a rebellion against the British, who wished to rule us, and those since we have stood up to when they wish to destroy this country. So it's pivotal as we go forward that we as Americans stand united and stand up to our enemies and oppose them and destroy them once and for all, both within and without. Those who wish to do us harm will not prevail. With that, have a good one.